Hello everybody, March 20th, 2023. Let's take a look at Bitcoin, which hasn't really done too much. I spent quite a bit of time on Friday looking at all the various possibilities with that giant move up we saw. Main scenario on Friday is that we would see a significant pullback very soon. Obviously, we haven't seen that materialize yet, but realistically, we are not out of the zone where I expect that still. So I said, there's some wiggle room if they wanted to push to 28.2. We got to like 28.5, so, I count that as within reason for that anyway. And then I went over the blue path and the orange path, the difference between those two. For the bulls, I'll go over that again. And I also said if we don't see a pullback soon and instead we just get to 30.6 or so and then reject, we're likely going down to 10K. I'll go over that. Another possibility if we don't see a pullback soon, but instead of rejecting 30.6, we got all the way to 34, I'm going to then lean in favor of the bulls and just kind of accelerate the count that I have. So I also went over this giant horizontal support resistance flip around 27.5 to 30.5 zone. We're retesting it for the first time since it broke down, and typically we do get a reaction from that. So, all right, let's take a look at, I'm going to take a look at orange scenario first because honestly I'm kind of leaning that way. Let me zoom out just a little bit more here. Okay, so orange scenario right here. Wave 1, wave 2. Wave 3 ended here. We had an ABC flat for 4. Please note that we did in fact very, very nominally break the level. That was, I think, 19,750 was the level I did not want to see break down. That's right about here. You can see we went really just tiny bit below that. And that's the only reason that I'm giving this orange count another shot here. Between just, even though it technically broke, it really didn't break down with a sustained break. And now we're up in the orange zone for wave 5. So here's our wave 4 and 5. This can be a decent 5-wave move right here. If that's the case, let me just confirm my orange zone is correct. Nope, we're going to move that. Orange pullback zone for this 5-wave move up is 22.5 down to 19.1 would be the possible pullback zone for a wave 2. This would form our initial wave 1, and then we'd see a pullback. We'd want to see a 3-wave move down into that zone right there. Okay, so as crazy as it sounds, below 20K is possible once again. I know that sounds insane, and I'm not 100% guaranteeing that's going to happen, obviously, but that would be, orange scenario for it to play out. We would see a 3-wave move down, big 3-wave move down into this area here. All right, that's orange. Blue is something I don't like as much because it involves this, all of this being our 5 waves and being done with it. And then this is our ABC down for a second wave. It is a possibility. However, with the extension we've seen, I don't like it as much because you can see I've got this blue fib drawn here, blue fib extension from the bottom up to 1, or our proposed 1, down to the bottom of 2. You want to see the next first wave go to about the 618 and really not above that typically. 764 in some cases can be okay. We're a bit above that even, which makes me quite wary. And that's where the red scenario comes into play instead, because going up that high to around, here's that 30.6 I mentioned, somewhere in this region here, 764 to 10, or even sometimes up to the 1236, but in this region it looks very, very much like an ABC, and we still have that as a possibility even now. That is very possibly an ABC, which means it can dump and we can head down to 10K. That's our bear scenario. We've got ABC. All right, but I am, like I said, giving orange a chance, which if orange is right, then we can ignore this blue fib extension altogether, and that's fine. If blue is right, then what we should see now is this really has extended. So that should be the absolute top of our initial first wave. We need to then see a pullback back down into this region. Let's get a better target for that now that we have a proposed top in place here. I'm going to just expand that. That's our blue pullback zone right there. You can see it kind of overlaps with orange a little bit, so that makes things a little bit trickier, that there is that overlap. But so if blue's right, we would have a three-wave pullback more into this zone, you know, maybe 23-ish, 24-ish would be okay, even down to the very kind of mid area of 22 would be okay. But in any case, you can see main sort of scenarios are all involving pullbacks, right? This looks very toppy here. Especially actually if we go to the 4 hour, just going to point something out here on the 4 hour. Now RSI can't tell you everything, obviously, like that was a bear div there, there's a bear div, bear div, bear div, right? We've got multiple bear divs. A single one of them doesn't necessarily call the top out for you. Like this is a bear div here, but it obviously wasn't the top. So, you know, we can't really use that to trade completely on, but we can use it as confluence. And the confluence on this right now tells me, number one, we have basically a double top on the RSI. We have lots of bear divs forming. The pitch of the RSI is downwards. And honestly, right now we are just flatlining at this level here. You can see that's acting as support basically on the RSI 60, give or take 59 basically. If this continues downwards and we see this break below that, we should then see acceleration downwards into either the blue or the orange scenario, or the red bearish scenario possibly. But in any case, you know, this is a bearish posture that the RSI is in, and obviously the oscillator, the PPO oscillator, has been overbought for some time now as well. So lots of things are pointing to a pullback happening imminently. We really haven't seen any evidence of it yet, but that can obviously appear quite quickly, and without warning it could drop. So stay on your toes. Obviously Wednesday is the FOMC meeting where the Fed decides how much they're going to raise rates. The talk that I'm hearing, it sounds like, you know, more like a quarter point is what they're thinking. I still think there's, you know, a greater than zero chance that we get a half point raise, but it you know, the markets are not pricing that in right now. If it happens, it would be extremely bearish. If they do a half point raise, this is going to nuke into that bear scenario, almost guaranteed. But right now, markets don't believe that to be the case, and the chatter that I've heard also indicates that, you know, quarter point raise is more likely what we're going to get, and that's what the market is expecting right now. So I don't necessarily view it as bearish. If we do get a quarter point raise, we might, I don't know, I hate to speculate, but we're Tuesday now, yeah. So, you know, if we can start seeing some pullback happen into Tuesday, then rate decision comes out, maybe that gives us a temporary bump, and then, you know, the market kind of digests it a little bit more and says, oh, maybe that's not good. You know, whatever the narrative is at the time, it may give us our pattern downwards that we're looking for in one way or another, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, final thing. I don't view this as likely for all of the reasons that I've mentioned previously, but I did say if this gets all the way up to 34, I would then have to assume that we're already in wave 3 of 3. And here is the blue bullish scenario, is the most accelerated scenario that we have. This would basically be 1, 2 here, and then 3 would take us up to about 34K. That's 3 of 3. Then we see a pullback probably down to about the area we're at right now, somewhere in this 27.5 to 30 zone. Then a push up to about 40, some more chopping around, and eventually we get up to near 48 is what that says. But as I said, a more direct push upwards kind of through this resistance zone here, I would have to assume we're already in the accelerated view of this count where we're already going to that third wave. But that's really the only thing that I could see that would prevent us from having a pullback, at least a minor pullback in blue, if not a major pullback in orange, or an even more major pullback in red. But again, red is really probably only likely in the event that the Fed raises a half point. So, all right, I think that went over everything that we needed to go over. So we'll see where we are the rest of the week. I'll touch base with you all on Friday. At that point, obviously, we'll know the FOMC decision, and the market will have had a couple days to digest it. So it'll be interesting to see where we are. All right, guys, have a safe trading week.